Now, excuse my demeanor, but the subject of today's video is the top 10 web development blunders of my life. And I felt that it would be appropriate for just this one video to reveal myself in another form. Check the sleeves. Check them out. Now, by the way, normally I do these things live. It's a Tuesday and a Thursday, 7 p.m. London time. Tuesday and Thursday. Chuck it in your diary. But I'm not able to do this thing live just now. The niece of my lady wonder wench, young Hannah, is over here from France. She's only 15. And they have a school play tonight. It's a big deal. And I promised I would show up. So if you're watching this, so sort of flying around in here. Anyway, if you're watching this around the normal time, then right now I'm at a school play somewhere. My goal, there's my accent. Shall I go with my normal Glaswegian accent? No, my goal, there you go. My goal with this is I'm going to give this a go for a while and see if I can breathe some life back into this channel. And then I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to look at the numbers. And if the feedback is good, if I'm seeing lots of comments and subscribers and likes and all of that stuff, then I'm going to keep this going. But if I don't see that, then I'm going to just go away. You won't hear from me again. So I really hope that people are going to be leaving comments. Let me know that you're here, not only in the chat thing, in the main area as well. There's not enough people doing it so far. I've done, I think, 3 videos and I've gained about 50 subscribers. That's good, right? I mean, my numbers were going down, but I need more. So I'm just letting you know that that's the vibe, okay? You decide for yourself. Now, let's talk about this list, shall we? Yeah, I have a list that I put together yesterday. I'm looking at it right now. And it's a list of all of the blunders that I've made. Mostly business related, by the way. There's one or two technical ones, but it's mostly the business ones. It's the stuff that you don't want people to know about. The stuff that is shaming. And the stuff that it just makes you feel terrible and all of that. And what I'm supposed to do, I am supposed to come on and talk about the list, make it funny, make it far more interesting than it really is. Maybe pretend that I'm far more important than I really am. You know, embellish things a little bit. And then I'm supposed to tell you all of the lessons that I learned from this. And you're supposed to enjoy actually, and then that's the video, right? That's what I'm supposed to do. However, my goal is quite clear. If I'm showing up, and I am showing up, then I'm going to be giving you material that nobody else is giving you. And I'm going to be surprising you, going to be challenging you. And today I'm going to be blaming you. That's right. Because surprise, surprise, my friends, all of the mistakes that I'm about to go into, and none of them are that interesting, by the way. None at all. It's not even, there's nothing interesting about any of this. But I decided, wouldn't it be better if I just turned this into a sort of therapy session, you know? I mean, the last video, I started with a big speech about how perfect I was and I'm the best in the world and the world's leading authority at web development interviews. I stand by it. Wouldn't it be nice if we went the opposite direction for one video? For one video? Where we look at all of these flaws and instead of saying, oh, here's what I learned, you know, Of course you learned, you know. Hey, I chucked my I chucked my arm in a machine, and it came off, you know. It came right off. So I learned, better not do that in the future. Well, of course you. That's that's called life. We're assuming that you learned, and I'm not going to patronize all of you, my incredibly intelligent audience, by saying, oh, and here's what I learned, like some children's TV presenter. No. Instead, we're going to have a kind of therapy session. And it starts with a story. I really don't like the word mentor. Nevertheless, if I was going to say that somebody was a mentor, in business at least, it would probably be Andy Bell from First Vehicle Leasing. He is the head honcho. I don't know what his title is, but he is the head honcho. And I first met him in 2004. And at that time, I was just an employee. And, you know, I built some stuff, did some cool things and everything. Now, he was technically my boss, but we got along well. And he had a little office just on the right-hand side of mine. And he used to shout me in. And he'd say, hey, how you doing? Come in. And we just used to chat about all sorts of things. He liked the movie Pulp Fiction. So did I, actually. And we'd talk about Pulp Fiction and stuff. And, oh, do you remember this? You know, oh, yeah. And we'd just chat. We got along, you know. Hugely successful dude, by the way. And when you'd be in his office, every few minutes, well, not every few minutes, but usually, let's conservatively say 3 times, maybe in every hour or so. At least that's how it felt to me. Somebody would bust in the room. Usually, some office bod with a shirt and tie. And they would say, that customer's been on the phone again. Their car got delivered. And the delivery guy delivered it upside down. And they put it in the river instead of the driveway. So the guy's car's floating in the river upside down. And I'd be gone, whoa. And Andy Bell, the head honcho, would say, he'd say, thank you. The guy would leave, and then Andy Bell would turn to me and say, so you were saying? I'd be like, oh, okay. Well, and then I'd say, I liked the scene with the blah, blah, blah. We're talking about movies or whatever. 2 minutes later, somebody else had come in the room. Sometimes the same guy, sometimes somebody different. And they'd say, we just heard from the factory. The entire factory's gone up in flames. It's a complete disaster. And there's 500 cars that have just been lost. I'd be sitting like this. And Andy Bell would go. He'd say, thanks. Thanks for that. And the suit would leave, and he'd turn to me and say, you were saying. And I'd be sitting having a nervous breakdown. And I asked him one time, how can you be so unflustered by this stuff? And he basically told me, and I have to say basically because I can't remember the exact words, but basically he said, there is no benefit in torturing yourself over things like this. No benefit. It's no benefit to anyone. You cannot let the bad stuff affect you. You have to keep moving forward. This was such a powerful lesson. And it's a lesson that I'm kind of returning to today. Because you can name any entrepreneur from Andrew Carnegie to Elon Musk, at least any of the big entrepreneurs, any of them, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you name your entrepreneur, Jeff Bezos, I don't care who, you name that entrepreneur, and I will show you dated and time stamped things they've done that are uncool, things they've done that are stupid, things they've done that are unethical and selfish and just plain out of order. It's just life. And it's part of being a remarkable person. And I believe that one of the biggest flaws that we normies have is that we have this fear of ridicule. We have this fear that, somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and say, oh, this happened and that happened. And, look what he did. Oh, and they put it maybe on a blog or something. And then people are going to say, oh, you scoundrel. And they're going to come after you. And they're going to drag your name through the mud and maybe bring up a tweet or who knows what. I think most of us have these types of fears. I know that I've got them. And the great Jedi Master Yoda said, named must your fears be before banish them you can. And I've just named the fear. The fear is ridicule. The fear is, look at the state of you. That last thing you did was a complete cock up. Look at that project you did that fell on its ass. What about those people? What about them? You didn't do too well by them, did you? And what does that fear do when we're at the receiving end of it? The answer is paralysis. It puts us in a position where we are frozen and terrified to make a move, to raise our heads above the trenches. And so we say to ourselves, well, I better not put out that course or the start the new business, and I better not say anything that'll rock the boat. In fact, maybe I should just kind of like hide in here. That's what happens. So today, I'm asking you, who cares about my own list? I'll do the list. It'll be boring. Who cares? But I want to go further than that. I want to go on a little journey. And I'm asking you, will you give me permission to not be perfect? And in return, I'll give you permission. Some of you are like, well, I haven't done much, just been hanging about this little basement, whatever. Fine. In that case, I'm just going to blame you for everything that I've done wrong, and I've got a long list coming up. So I hope you're okay sharing in the blame. That's right. I'm just going to blame you, because today is all about embracing the failures and the imperfections. I'm not some dude who sees somebody that's overweight and says, yeah, you look beautiful anyway. I'm the dude who says, hit the gym, fatso. But nevertheless, we have to become comfortable with the fact that, of course, there's going to be times in life when it doesn't go according to plan. That is life. Are you with me? All right. So that's my little introduction. Let's do this bullshit list. We'll get it out the way. It's completely boring anyway. And the most important thing is that we're going to feel the feelings and we're going to feel comfortable with not being perfect. All right, now I have the list in front of me. You can't see it, but it's on the screen. And here we are, top 10 web development blunders. Number 10 is one that all of you folks have made, and I'll add this list to the description. Number 10 is solving the same problem over and over. We all do it. There's no speech required. I must have built a gazillion contact forms. Why? I think it's the biggest mistake in all of web development, and I'm certainly pleading guilty. So that's number 10. At number 9, charging too much. Ding, 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 charging too much. When I had my little agency going, it was a website maintenance agency. It got to the top of Google for website maintenance. At that time, the price that I was charging was 1,000 plus VAT per month to do, I suppose, a basic website maintenance package, whatever that means. The other companies that were doing it were all charging 30, 40 and £50 a month. I was hugely above what everyone else was charging, um, and that was nice. The trouble is that when 2008 came along, the financial crash, I lost 7 clients in 1 week, and I had turned down so much work that I was left out in the cold, and really suffered, the whole business actually. So that would be my next mistake. All right. Number 8, I hope I don't offend too many people with this one, but number 8 is learning Kotlin. About a year ago, I spent some time learning Kotlin. Kotlin's a great language. I mean, I really, really like it. I like the vision as well. It's fantastic. But even though it's a great language, and it's one of those languages that can do everything, I do think it was a waste of time for me learning it. And the reason why is because I feel as if the entire web development community was sort of led astray for a while, and we all suddenly felt the need to learn mobile development. Looking back, I think that was an error. It was an error collectively, in fact, because the truth is, mobile phones are perfectly capable of using and visiting ordinary websites. So I think that push towards mobile, as the Americans call it, was well intentioned, but I think it was a mistake actually. But let me stress, the language itself is good, and if you know Kotlin, congratulations, I like the language, okay? It's just that it wasn't for me. All right, number 7. Here's an interesting one. YouTube. That's right. And I've got here written down marathon live streams / swearing, etc. So I had 11,000 subs, and then one day I had this idea that I'm gonna start doing these live coding streams and let people see what I'm doing and everything. And I started doing these marathon coding sessions. Like, I mean, 2 weeks ago I did one that was 10.5 hours. Now I still do them in the private area. I'm going to keep doing them, but doing them in the public facing part of YouTube was a mistake. To be clear, I'm okay with doing them privately and I'm okay with doing them on Twitch, but doing those big live streams publicly, the coding ones, it was a terrible decision. It destroyed the channel. My viewership went down the drain. I'd be doing these massive live streams with like one person watching. It was just a really stupid decision. I would also add that I did a lot of videos for a while where I was playing the part of this obnoxious character who swore every second word and said that every framework under the sun was bullshit. I I have mixed feelings about that. I think it was kind of necessary at that time to get Johngate on the map, but at the same time, that persona did a lot of damage to my own career. I think it made me unemployable. Anyway, generally, let's just say number 7, I would say YouTube. Not this video, this is a good video, but generally my handling of YouTube has been bad, especially the live streams, and I just wish I had not been swearing quite so much, you know? All right, number 6, rubbish manager. I've had one or two times in life where I was in a management position and I was rubbish at it. I think I'm just not cut out for it. Apart from the fact that I was never good at working on something but focusing on what someone else is doing. I couldn't get my head around that. But apart from that, I just made a lot of stupid decisions. Um, I remember one time I advertised for a position. I think it was web designer, and I narrowed it down to the last 3. And I remember saying, they're all so good, I'm going to employ all three of them, you know. And this was a tiny little agency. I couldn't afford it. And I was just always making stupid decisions like that. I was terrible. I'm not management material. I have been a rubbish manager, just being honest. Number 5, I have here FVL. Now, I have to be careful because it's actually, I think I've given him a mention already, and I know that he has been known to watch this channel. So I'll make this one quite quick. When I got hired to do web development, I got hired to work for First Vehicle. I think it was early 2004. And at that time, there was not too many PHP developers. Actually, there were not too many developers anywhere. It's like if you could put something on a database, people would be like, what? You can update it with a form? Everybody thought it was black magic. Nowadays, nobody really cares. But back then, there was a moment where that particular company went from here to here. And I believe that I played an important role in that. I could go into detail and talk about all of the overtime I did, unpaid. I could talk about how I had an insider tip that Arnold Clark had paid £1 million trying to build a system that was like the system I had made for First Vehicle. I could go into all of that stuff and talk about how great I am. The upshot of it is, there was a little sweet spot, I think it was about the end of 2005, where I had proven myself and I should have asked for a share of the company. Now, if he's watching, hello Andy, they're probably all laughing. But at that time, I think it would have been reasonable. I think I could have justified it, and I think I should have asked for 10%. If that had happened, by the way, it would not have just been me all driving Lamborghinis or whatever. If that had happened, I think that I could have helped that company to avoid some stupid decisions that they made. For example, and I don't want to go airing dirty laundry, but they hired a marketing company in Edinburgh. By my estimation, they paid far too much. The marketing company did a terrible logo. There was just so much waste everywhere. If I had been in a position where I had, let's say, a 10% share of the company, I think that I could have steered them away from that. And I think I could have been good for them. Now, thankfully, they turned out okay. They're still in business and, you know, I'm still friends with them and everything. Bless them all. But I do regret not asking for a share of the company. It's the first time I've said it, and now you know. Number 4. I've decided not to go into number 4 in too much detail, but basically, shortly after I left First Vehicle, I was approached by people that I can only describe as gangsters. They offered me a third of a business. They says that we'll pay for all the advertising. We'll have an office. We'll have a full telesales team and everything. Just come on down. And like an idiot, I said yes. And I regret that because it ended really badly. The advertising budget that they had turned out to be 600 quid. The office was some little, I don't know what it was even. Let's just not even mention that. The telesales department was one guy who never sold a single deal. And eventually, when I decided, folks, this is not working, God bless you, I'm out of here, it ended with them threatening to, and I quote, break your legs. So I got threats and I got told that I better not get involved in the motor industry again. And it was all kind of nonsense. The whole thing is ridiculous. It was ridiculous, and I think the moral of the story is just watch who you do business with. A good indicator, by the way, is do they have a criminal record? I know that's kind of basic stuff, you know, but usually if it's somebody who's just out of jail, maybe that's a little clue that you don't want to go into business with somebody like that. So I have had 1 or 2 run-ins with some interesting people, and that is a regret. Number 3. Now, this one is really recent. This is like 2-3 months ago. I was talking about recently how in this economic climate, I really believe in the business model for developers of teaching development. So if somebody's going to hire me, I'm probably going to make the deal, look, hire me. Not only am I going to build, I'm going to teach. Now, I tried this. I tried this model last year and it was great. And a company hired me. Beautiful company, fantastic people. God bless them. And they're possibly watching. Hello, if they are. There's a good chance they are. Anyway, they hired me. Dream come true gig. Everything great. There were a couple of mistakes that I made, though. The first mistake is that the whole deal was I'm going to build, but I'm going to teach your staff as well. Cracking offer, right? I stand by that. The problem is I tried to teach them JavaScript and PHP and other stuff, and it was too much, far too much. I should have just restricted it to PHP. That was mistake number 1. The second mistake I made, which was devastating, which I torture myself over, is because I had said, we'll all build it together. I was trying to create this harmonious atmosphere where everybody felt included and involved and everybody had an equal say and felt empowered. One of the staff members, a beautiful human being, who is the IT manager or the IT guy, he was made to be in charge of design and usability. He came up with an okay design. It was actually pretty good. And again, I'm aware that he could potentially be watching the video. His design was pretty good, but he was new to the game. And along the way, he made a few decisions that were not perfect. For example, I was asking, why don't we get a search box along the top? I think I'd even added one so people can search for products, you know. And he took it off, says, nah, nobody uses a search box. Stuff like that, you know. And if only I could turn back the clocks, I would have, funnily enough, I would not have said, hey, what do you know, Charlie? That's not what I would have done. If I could turn back the clocks, I would have gone right back to the start of the contract. And I would have said to the owner, who may be watching, I would have said, Eric, before I go in front of your staff and meet them, we have to be clear about the ground rules here. If this project is going to be done within, let's say, 3 months, I have to be in charge. There's just no other way of saying it. I have to be. I have to be the guy who has the final say. And if any of your staff members disagree or make stupid decisions or anything, I have to know that I've got your support when I tell them we're not doing it that way, we're doing it this way. Will you stand by me in this endeavor? Now, if I had had that conversation, that project would have been finished in 3 months and it would have been a roaring success story. But I did not have that conversation. So what happened is I went into this agreement that had every reason to be a winner. But because I had played it, let's all pretend we're equals, a lot of bad decisions were made and it just went on and on and on and on. The project lasted for 10 months and eventually, worst thing ever, the owner said, this is just taking too long. And the project was a failure. How terrible is that? So you can't say I'm not honest. That's what happened. And it's so recent that it really, really hurts me. But that makes my top 3 list. And to be clear, that will never happen again. I've learned my lesson. Next time, there's not going to be any confrontation, but I'm going to set it up and say to the owner, look, I love human beings. We're all created equally, but this cannot be some kind of democracy. I've got to be the guy in charge of this project. And if not, then we can't do the gig. I wish I had that conversation. Top 3 regret. And it's only just happened. All right, number 2. This one will raise a few eyebrows. Speed Coding Academy. Now, some of you have heard me talking about Speed Coding Academy. I'd been hired 2018, I think, for a job. It took ages. I was tired of rewrite culture and everything. I thought, I'm going to find a faster way. Web development generally was just too slow. So I built a code generator for a really reliable framework called CodeIgniter. CodeIgniter had a full decade's worth of history where it never really changed, you know? So I thought, right, I'm going to do this thing that generates code for CodeIgniter. Then I'm going to teach people how to build with this, and it'll be fast and everything. And we're going to do speedcodingacademy.com. So I built the whole thing, came on here, did a launch. Some of the people who bought are watching. Hello. And did really well. I had a 1 in 10 conversion rate, which you've heard me say before. Everything was great. The trouble is that within, I think it was within 24 hours of the doors opening, an email arrived from the makers of CodeIgniter that said, "Great news, we've just changed everything." And they brought out CodeIgniter 4 that has nothing to do with the other CodeIgniters. And in that instant, everything that I'd been working on was obsolete. I was gutted. But then I was put in this terrible position because I had these people who had bought the course. I wasn't doing any other gig. I had to eat, you know. I simply couldn't even afford to do refunds or anything. I mean, we're here. And so I had to make a decision. Am I going to teach them this framework that I now know is out of date? Or am I going to do something else? It was the toughest decision I've ever made in my web development career. And in the end, I decided I'm going to build a new framework. And I'm going to make it so that this framework is even better than CodeIgniter. And I'm going to make it stable. And I'm going to build a code generator for the new framework. And I'm going to do Speed Coding Academy. And I'm going to teach them how to build any app that any client could reasonably ask for. And I'm going to teach HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, all of the database stuff, security, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to give them a bunch of projects, including build a WordPress clone, build an online shop, a machine learning tutorial, build Speed Coding Academy itself, build a vehicle ordering system, just like the ones I'd made in the past. I'm going to get them all of this stuff, and everything's going to be beautiful. That was pretty much the origin story of Trongate and Speed Coding Academy. Looking back on it, I feel as if it was ridiculous. It was too much for any human being. I mean, I got to the stage where I was working 20 hours per day. There was about 300 videos that I made for Speed Coding Academy, and most of the videos sound like this. Hello, everybody. Hello, can you hear me? I'm speaking quiet. Hi, how you doing? Most of the videos have got terrible sound, and they sound like that. And the reason why they sound like that is because most of the videos were recorded at 2 in the morning. Because what I was doing is, and imagine this, right? I was getting up at 5 a.m. and then I was building the framework, right? This framework out of thin air. Then I was building the code generator, the desktop app for the framework. And then, usually by about midnight, having just built the framework, then I'm doing a tutorial teaching people how to use the thing that I've just made. This is ridiculous. Nobody can do that, you know? Even if you had a team of 100 developers and you said, do that, right? Okay, guys, build a framework in the morning, build a desktop app in the afternoon, and then teach it in the evening. Nobody can do that. Well, I did it. and it was a mistake. It was too much too soon. I think that um, I probably should have just declared failure. And I don't know. I don't know what I should have done, but it was just too much. And I, that's that, you know. Um, anyway, there we go. Number one on the list, I call this one the tragedy of Traversy. It's kind of to do with Brad Traversy. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much because he's not here to defend himself. But some of you will know that Brad Traversy is a very popular YouTuber. He has about 3 million subscribers and he does tutorials. I think he's one of the best, actually. Um, of course, one of the big questions is, well, who does he follow? And there are a few videos of his where he goes onto YouTube, you know, at least in the past. He'll go onto YouTube, and you know, on the left hand side, it shows you who you watch. You have a close look, and you'll see me there because he followed this channel, believe it or not. And we exchanged a few emails and we got along. And I'm not going to say we were the best of friends or anything, but you know, every now and again we would exchange opinions about things. And I was a fan of his. I know that he was a fan of mine because I saw his screen and I'd always be there. I was the guy that he was watching and everything was cool. When Trongate came along, I remember I asked him, would you be happy to follow or to do a tutorial with this framework? And he said, yeah, absolutely. Great, fantastic. And I had a bunch of other YouTubers who kept in touch with me as well. Again, should I name them? Maybe. I suppose it doesn't matter. But let's just say you've heard of them. Hugely, hugely popular. And we exchanged emails and we would often talk to each other. In the case of, for example, Steph Mischuk, he did a guest slot on my old podcast. Um, and everything was great, you know. I never had a massive channel, but at least I had these friends, you know, and it was good. But then what happened is Songate got launched. I'd been up 20 hours a day like this. And I waited and waited. And every day I was watching the Traversy channel, saying, I wonder if he's going to cover Trongate. I wonder if he's going to cover it. And it never happened. And then one day, like a bungling idiot, I sent him a message that went something like this. It was like, hey, when are you going to do that tutorial? I can't remember the wording of it, but I was incredibly rude and obnoxious and angry and everything, and he knew that. He immediately got back to me and was like, you watch your tone. And in my genius, I said, oh yeah, watch my tone. And I did that. So the next thing I know, the two of us are like this. Um, and the last time I heard from him, the very last email that I got from him, he said to me, I wish I could get you in the boxing ring. To which I responded, great, let's go in the boxing ring. Delighted. And I said, you know, as long as you, and I was serious. I thought we could do this for charity. It's going to be great for the framework. I was trying to get this thing where, like, if we do a boxing match, if I beat him, he has to do a Trongate tutorial, and if he beats me, maybe I'll do a Laravel tutorial. It would have been fantastic. Of course, he'd said he wants to get me in the ring because he just wanted to knock lumps out of me. But I ended up, I said, look, if you can get medical clearance, I'll do it. I'll go in the boxing ring. Let's make it happen, you know. It would have been the web development occasion of the century, but I never heard from him after that. And interestingly, all of those other YouTubers that I was friends with, they never covered Trongate. They disappeared. One or two of them pretended that they'd never heard of Trongate and stuff. And I don't want to go all conspiratorial about it, but you cannot help but wonder if they maybe know each other and stuff like that. Anyway, that email from me, and you know, I'm the idiot today, right? The email from me where I was like, when are you going to do the tutorial? You clown, or whatever I said. I can't even remember. That is that's the single biggest mistake of my career. He's not going to come back. He's gone. It's fine. I accept it. I'm okay with it. But that was my biggest mistake. That mistake defines my career. It's the reason why I'm here. Um, and actually, I think it defines his career as well. It's a shame that it went that way. Funnily enough, I was thinking about this video last night, and the thought occurred to me just out of the blue. I don't think he would have covered Tron Gate anyway. It just occurred to me because the truth is, I'm not a fan of Laravel, and I had made that clear. He, on the other hand, really likes Laravel, and I think that it would have been too much for him to, come on board with the anti-Laravel guy, let's say. So it was only last night I thought of this. I don't think he was going to cover Chongi anyway. Regardless of that, he's gone. God bless him. That is my number one blunder of my career. Okay, we got there. Now, I hope you found this entertaining. The most important part of this whole thing is not so much what did you learn. Look, of course, we're going to learn, right? That's the whole point of life. But the main point is that I think we have to give ourselves permission to be bungling idiots, permission to be less than perfect. And if we can arrive at the other side of this video feeling like, okay, I'm all right with this, I'm all right with it, it's fine, then just maybe this video has been useful. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.